Hi everyone, I'm Bree the Plant Lady. Today I want to show you how easy it is to reduce your need for mulching. Now here I have a big shrub border, and this is out at the far reaches of my property. It's difficult to water. It gets a mix of full sun to part shade now that the trees have gotten large, and I just don't want to have to constantly maintain this. So my goal has been to fill this up with a ground plane of hardy evergreen perennials so that it reduces my need to come out and add additional mulch each season. Now over the weekend I took on a small area adjacent to a water source where I didn't need to be growing all this massive hardy sedum. I think that this is Sedum kamschaticum for those of you who want the botanical name. So I dug all of that up out of the bed, and now I'm going to transplant it throughout the edges of this large kind of east facing, and this side gets western full afternoon sun. So like all of my projects, everything starts with the addition of beautiful organic compost. So step one will be for me to layer some compost down, and then I'm going to do a mix between this sedum that I am transplanting and some awesome native perennials, very specifically this mountain mint, also known as pycnanthemum. And these plugs I've had for a while. They are really rooted in. They are so ready to be planted. This is a great plant, but you want to put it in an area where you can let it naturalize. And this is exactly the bed for me to grow this in. Pollinators love it. Animals don't like to browse on it because it smells like mint. So this is going to be like the most beautiful and perfect solution to lower my long-term maintenance in this big property border. I put down just about an inch of compost right along the edge, and I have to keep reminding myself that all of these plants that are in here are going to keep getting larger. So I don't have a ton of room, but I do want to concentrate these perennials along the edge so that in the long run I won't need to do this again. And I'm going to do a mix of the sedum and the pycnanthemum in here because, like I said, this area gets full eastern sun, so nice morning exposure, and these plants are really going to enjoy that. Now because I abused these sedums, like I ripped them out of the ground and then shoved them here until I had time to get out here, I'm cutting them down so that they'll transplant a little more easily. The planting process is super simple, and sedums are very, very forgiving, as is pycnanthemum. Like I said, sedum are really forgiving. These are really capable plants. I think of all the things I grow, this particular sedum is really the best suited for out here, which, you know, all those trees and shrubs are well established. This is a really nice border. And in the Foodscape Revolution, I talk about different zones in your yard, and this would definitely be considered a zone 3. And see, in my early days of gardening on this property 10 years ago, I actually did grow quite a bit of food out here because I had so much room because all the trees and shrubs were tiny. But now 10 years later, the trees and shrubs are well established and there isn't room for food crops. Plus, it's more and more difficult to get water out here because all of the other beds are well developed. You know, it used to be where I could just carry a hose anywhere and I wasn't going to like crush any plants. But now that's not the case because the garden is, you know, 10 years old and it's definitely well established. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So it's actually pretty amazing what you can accomplish in a decade. This is my third garden in North Carolina. It's the first one that I've really been able to watch develop over a significant amount of time. So the final step is just to scatter some seeds. I'm going to do crimson clover and buckwheat, and I'm just going to do that in the open areas of compost. This is meant to help fix nitrogen, attract pollinators, but also just to help keep weeds at bay while the sedum and the Pycnanthemum muticum get established in this bed. So again, the seed sowing process is really easy. You're just kind of tossing the seeds, and both of these can actually get kind of mixed into the soil. They're not as sensitive as like poppies are. So I'm just sort of scattering these around, and then I'm going to go around with my hand and just mix them up. That way I make sure the seed has good contact with the soil, and they will germinate in place. And I think they're going to look really beautiful. Really, probably in less than a month, they'll all germinate. And by then, all of these perennials will have a hold and they will start growing again. So I'm in the final area of this bed, and I'm really pleased with how everything is looking. And I'm also really excited to have finally done the job I should have done 10 years ago. Filled this up with spreading perennials that will hold their own and reduce my maintenance. And really, that's what this whole thing is about. I don't need to micromanage every square inch of the 1 acre property that I live on. I want to be able to enjoy it. And yeah, there's parts that, you know, I like to change out seasonally and grow food and ornamentals together, but I also have to know my bounds. And in this case, I have to have 2 hoses tied together to get a sprinkler to it. I really want to grow this as kind of a property screen so that I'm shielded from the road, and I want to have plants out here that don't need a lot of help, and I want those to be plants that also benefit pollinators. So I think that this combination of the addition, I should say, of Pycnanthemum and that sedum kamchaticum is really great. And then I have one other plant. This is Rudbeckia Autumn Sun. And I know this can get quite large, so I think this is also perfect to put out here. There's an ornamental grass behind it, and that'll look really awesome kind of in that juxtaposition. So I hope this video will inspire you to recognize where you can have low maintenance perennial borders and differentiate that between the spaces that you grow higher maintenance things, including food crops. And I thank you all so much for watching.